We are shifting gears today and we're going to talk about OSHA. Why is OSHA so important? It amazes me. I keep telling people it doesn't matter what kind of industry you're in, it doesn't matter what kind of company you have. OSHA still has a great deal of influence over how you do your business. And a lot of things have already changed for 2025. So I thought we'd go through the list now that it's mid-June here in the year. Let's go through some of these changes because some of them actually you'll start being accountable for them the 1st of July. And not all of them are going to be applicable to you, but I got one that definitely will be, no matter who you are. Number one on the list, expanded heat illness prevention standards, outdoor and indoor heat protection. Look, if you have individuals who have access or who are working in very stressful situations, and a lot of the manufacturing settings that I have walked into, this applies. You absolutely have to make sure that those individuals have access to shade, to water, to cooling areas. Make sure that they're taking break times, and I mean make them mandatory break times in high heat conditions. And acclimatization, just protocols to talk about how do we move from one temperature to the other. Again, it's not going to affect all of you, but for those of you who are in these kind of conditions, you need to be aware of this stuff. How about stricter penalties for violations? That's the one that affects all of you. You can't escape this. They just raised their fines 10 to 15% across the board for willful or repeated violations. And that at the very top can be $161,000 per offense. $161,000 per offense. And I really want to stress that for those of you who have forklifts. I've been in 2 locations here in the past week, and neither of those forklifts had mirrors. One literally had the seatbelt fastened so that the individual sat on the seatbelt versus using it. And those are huge violations. An accident involving a forklift is a huge violation. Don't take any of this for granted, guys. Whether it's $2,000 or $161,000, that's money you do not need to be spending, let alone putting somebody at risk and having unsafe work environments. How about enhanced workplace violence prevention? Now, this is very, very important in the healthcare, social services area, the high-risk sectors. Employers in healthcare, social services, retail must now conduct annual workplace violence risk assessments. Implement de-escalation training and reporting systems. Now, it's just hard to even accept that we have that much going on in those particular industries. But I'm a little shocked that we don't have some of the other industries like construction and landscaping, even manufacturing, because people are on high sensitivity right now. Emotions are everywhere, and workplace violence is not acceptable. How about updated hazard communication requirements? SDS, or chemical safety data sheets, must now include additional toxicity and exposure data. Employers must provide multilingual safety training if non-English speaking workers are present. And I was talking to an employer the other day who didn't realize that he was required to have SDS sheets, and he has non-English speaking employees. And he goes, oh, but that's really expensive, that translation stuff. That's a little expensive. And I thought, well, that's nothing compared to what the medical bills will be, or what your workers' comp claims will be, or what a life is worth. Get the translations and make sure you have the active SDS sheets. If you're not sure whether your industry has hazardous materials, OSHA can tell you that. In fact, your suppliers can tell you that. They've also implemented new e-reporting requirements for larger employers. And when they're talking about larger employers, they're talking about employers with 250 employees or more. They must submit injury and illness data quarterly. So they can't wait to fill out the 300 report at the end of the year now. And employers with over 250 or more have to do it quarterly. Don't let that slip between the cracks. They know who you are. Number 6 is respiratory protection programs have changed. The fit testing frequency increased for certain industries such as construction and manufacturing. And then the voluntary use of N95 masks now requires a mini respiratory protection plan. Yeah, how many of you started that? Remember back in December of 24, they came out with new requirements saying that PPE needed to be specially fit to the individual who's using it. You can't put the same harness on an individual who weighs 230 pounds on another individual who weighs 140. We also have the difference in just gender. A woman is going to be shaped differently than a man. You just have to understand that when you're using PPE, you've got to make sure that it fits appropriately. And respirators are a huge part of that. Number 7 is emphasis on mental health and workplace stress. And it's not mandatory right now, but OSHA is encouraging employers to provide mental health resources and address workplace stressors that like excessive overtime. Bullying could cause excessive stress. There's so many things that are affecting mental health. And I did say OSHA's not making it mandatory for right now, but get prepared, because I would say in short order, that would be another change coming, is reviewing just how many workplace accidents or injuries can be traced back to mental health. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but some of these changes to go into effect July 1st, how many of you are prepared? How many of you actually have gone and sat down with your supervisors, your boots on the ground, and said, how many of these actually affect us? Are we ready? Look, again, why would you pay a fine for something that you can fix now? And again, forklifts and cranes are my two biggest sensitive areas when it comes to safety. Do what you need to do to make sure that you're in a safe place and make sure you're compliant. OSHA, they'll help you. Just because they come on doesn't mean that you're going to get fined. Partner with them. Contact a safety consultant and have them walk through where your risk actually lies. There's my advice. We'll see what other changes come here towards the end of the year with OSHA. Oh, I love that topic. But then that's what we're here for. Come back. I might be in the new studio when you get back. Thanks for listening to the Human Resource.